Why a 13-inch drum? Okay, drums are made in 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, whatever, but they always seem to be even numbers. Why would there be a 13-inch drum, and what significance does that have in our musical ability behind a drum kit? We'll answer that at the end. This drum has been put back together again, and let me explain to you how it works and how we tune it. Okay, very simply, the shell is free floating, we know that, bearing edge over here, nothing's touching the shell. Tuning the upper and lower head to different degrees of rigidity in order to play a triad. This is an 8-inch by 12-inch tom-tom. This was made for a customer. He likes deep tom-toms on the smaller ones. So if we take this drum and we tap that head, you're going to hear one is absolutely lower. It's decaying. The drum hole drum is decaying to flat. Okay, so they are independently tuned. It is a true free-floating drum. How does it work? This mechanism on the top with the intermediate hoop is basically creating a tension on the upper head. Now, if you took a shell without anything on it, just a bare shell, put a napkin across the top of it and went to park your beer on top, it would fall right through. But if you could tension that head, that tensioning, or which is called shear tension over the bearing edge of the head, produces a byproduct. That byproduct is rigidity. That rigidity now could support the weight of your beer sitting on top of it. Right? So what I've done is I have patented these drums that this is a principle of physics that's been applied to this drum that has never been applied before. By pre-tensioning the upper head, I can now insert the shell and its bearing edge right up against that head. And now I can put the other head and rim on it, and I can tighten up against the rigidity of that head. So let's say, for example, this had 50 pounds of tension on top of it. And I put the shell in, put the other head on. Well, I can tune that other head from 0 to 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 50 pounds of rigidity without affecting the other head, because it's working off of the pressure that's created on the primary or the pre-tensioned head. That allows me to do that. Now, when I came up with this idea, because I had heard about free-floating drums ever since I was a little kid, and that was a hell of a long time ago, and I figured it out, it was funny because it came to be a point where I was understanding the brilliance of the person who came up with this concept. Though he was never able to see it and bring it to tuition, his brilliance was now making me an observer. What ended up happening is, number one, this intermediate hoop became the perfect mounting system. Now, we've gone out and we've bought a great invention, actually, which is called rim. It's a rim mount system that just hangs onto the lug and suspends the drum up in the air and allows the drum to open up. That was really incredible invention and made a big improvement in the sound of the drum. This incorporates the intermediate hoop by mounting hardware on the tom-toms to that hoop, and on a snare drum for your tensioner and your snare throw-off being mounted to it also, instead of the shell, keeps it truly a free-floating drum, and also gives a nice support system to it. So these drums are absolutely hanging by that, and nothing's touching it and going in. But other things started to happen that I started to notice. Number one, once I tuned the drum to get myself my decay where I wanted it, if I continue to tune the drum, and I'm just doing this with one lug, okay? Now, the decay moved absolutely in sync with the tuning in the upper head. So once the decay of the bottom head is set on the drum and you tune the upper head, the decay, wherever it is, if it's 50 and 40, goes to 60, the 40 goes to 50, and the ratio between the two of them always remains the same. So it makes it very easy to tune a drum. Now I just tuned the drum, just tightening one lug. that tune is perfectly even. You're not going lug by lug and tapping on it. The intermediate hoop creates an equalization of pressure going on, and that equalization makes it so it becomes one lug tuning. So let's just take this and say ratio is still there, and that drum's very high. Now, and you can hear the tension of the drum is still different between the two, but you've got a much larger range on the drum than that. I'm actually ripple walled on the top of this one, which is giving you a little bit of a buzz, but let's see, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, I just want to make sure I got that right. And that's how it works. It's truly a free-floating drum. To answer your question, 13-inch drums. Okay, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 multiples of 2. Why is there a 13-inch drum? The plywood that is used to make the shells for drums comes in sheets. And they found out, after they made a set of drums, that they had a piece left over. So the manufacturer said, well, what are we going to do with this? So they decided that it was too small to make a 14, and they already had a 14, and it was too big to make a 12-inch drum, and they already had a 12-inch drum. So what they did is says, you know what? We can get rid of this. We'll sell it to the customer and tell them that they need a 13-inch drum. That's the only reason why 13-inch drums exist.